In Thailand, anti-government protesters plan to defy a ban on gatherings in Bangkok for a third day and hold rallies across the country. That could potentially escalate the three-month movement in support of monarchy reform and greater democracy.
Well, thousands of protesters demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha yesterday, and they're set to stage another demonstration later today.
Mr. Prayut said he will not resign and that the ban on political gatherings would last up to 30 days.
Well, the Straits Times' Indo-China Bureau Chief Tan Hui-yi joins us now to share more from Bangkok. So, Hui-yi, these protests are led by students and other young people. Most protest leaders are in their 20s and an even younger generation is following these protests. What factors are influencing them and what do they want?
Well, last night they gathered in central Bangkok to demand the government release some protest leaders who have been arrested and denied bail. But there are broader demands. They want a new constitution, they want fresh elections, and they want the government to stop harassing its critics. They also want to limit the powers of the king to keep them in line with his status as a constitutional monarch. That is the most controversial demand. Before this, the monarchy was still considered an untouchable topic in Thailand. It is against the law, for example, to insult the king or the queen. The King Maha Vajiralongkorn took ownership of the Crown Property Bureau's assets 2 years ago, and he personally controls 2 army units. Before he signed the current constitution, he had asked for it to be amended. Now, what's interesting about these protesters, which was very clear during last night's rally, is that more and more of them are coming from high schools. These 14, 15-year-old students are turning up in their school uniforms, and they are mobilizing support from their peers across the country.
Now, do you see the government meeting these demands? And, if not, is there a compromise or a sort of middle ground that will appease both sides?
Well, that's still a big question. Just this morning, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha confirmed that he was not stepping down. He also asked for cooperation to maintain peace and order in Thailand. The government, as you know, has declared a serious emergency in Bangkok, which has basically made these protests illegal. The decree gives security officers broad powers to detain suspects and censor news. And the government says this is necessary to prevent confrontation between groups with different political opinions.
Yep.
A compromise could be reached in terms of some amendment to the constitution, which was drafted under the previous military government. However, during a parliament sitting last month, several senators opposed any change to this charter. They voted with lawmakers from the coalition government for more time to consider this matter. They will reconvene in parliament next month. So it remains to be seen if there will be some progress on this front.
Right. Well, tens of thousands of protesters in the streets of central Bangkok. So are you expecting the situation to escalate or, calm down later tonight and over the weekend? And actually, are there any indications that the protests could actually turn violent?
That's hard to say. So far, the protesters have been able to mobilize large numbers using social media in a matter of hours. Last night's rally in Ratchaprasong, for example, drew thousands of people, partly because of the detention of key protest leaders, which made them angry. I don't think the protests are going to stop, though the tactics may change. There have been some brief scuffles. The rallies have largely been peaceful. The protest leaders constantly remind supporters not to be violent, and the police have also been restrained. What we are seeing are largely flash mobs that last for a few hours, rather than prolonged sit-ins that were common in the past. But there is a risk of confrontation between these protesters and royalists, who are starting to mobilize their supporters to protect the monarchy.
Well, thanks very much for coming on the show, Hui-yi. Of course, we'll be checking in as this story develops, and that was our Indo-China Bureau Chief, Tan Hui-yi.